This is in the Mail. This is a story about freedom of speech, which is something we're very keen on at GBNews. What constitutes a non-crime hate incident? Well, I mean, on the face of it, if you were to ask me that in the pub, I would say thin air, really.
Right.
A non-crime hate incident sounds like something, you know, that a child would be sent packing, having complained of at school. But anyway, the police had investigated. I'd rather wish they were investigating an actual crime stab incident, but it seems they were living in the Minority Report world. Minus Tom Cruise. Well, Andrew, this is the sort of thing you investigate quite frequently on Free Speech Nation, I think.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about this because, and however much we talk about it, there's always a lot of people who don't really know that this is going on.
Yeah.
You know, and we've had, to give you a sense of it, so between 2014 and 2019, so that 5-year period, there were 120,000 recorded non-crime hate incidents.
Absurd. Recorded.
Recorded by police.
I mean, it's literally a waste of ink, isn't it?
Right, well, you would think, yeah, exactly. But, you know, these are effectively when someone has contacted the police and said, someone has done something that is not criminal, but it's upset me, and I perceive it to be motivated by hate.
So they don't even have to demonstrate motivation was hatred?
No, absolutely, clearly not. In the College of Policing guidelines, it says quite explicitly, there is no, you record it as a non-crime hate incident irrespective of whether or not you can prove that there was any hate.
Or even suspect any, then.
It doesn't matter because it's a perception-led charge. In other words, if someone perceives it, and crucially, they call them the victim.
So if the victim is thought to be a vexatious client, let's stop short of mental illness, but let's say they're the sort of person who seems to come around quite... I mean, I don't know if you remember this, one of my absolute favourite movies of all time, The Lady Killers. Do you remember this? An Ealing comedy. There's a little old lady, and she is always going into the police and telling them that something dreadful has happened, or she's seen somebody looking suspicious. And they never believe her because they know to pat her on the back and say, that's all right, Mrs. Doyle, we'll look after her. And as a result, when she does have some bank robbers staying in her house because she's a landlady, they don't believe her because she has a record. Now, these people have been known to exist, right? Forever.
Oh, but I mean, but it's actually very common now. The accusation of hate is a pretty standard for those who don't agree with you.
Well, I mean, I get it whenever I have a row.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Home, you know.
But I mean, I suppose I should clarify, the reason why this story is in the Mail today is because Harry Miller, who's a man who runs he's an entrepreneur and former police officer, who was targeted by someone who said that he'd committed a non-crime hate incident. He actually challenged it. Because he's a former cop and he knew about this stuff, he challenged it. It's gone to court. Now it's gone to the Court of Appeal, who have ruled that non-crime hate incidents are a threat to freedom of expression. That's what's happened
Stephen,
today.
let me bring you in, because obviously that's Andrew's specialist subject, but what's your sort of take on this?
Yeah, not going to fall out on this, because it feels as if the words should tell us the answer already.
Yes.
If it's not a crime, then someone else might look into it. And I'm not, you see, that's the thing. I'm not saying say whatever you like. Surely there should be some rules, and maybe the tech industry should be keeping an eye on that. Let's not waste our police resources.
It's an interesting point you raised there, because there was a lot of talk in the summer, I know, and actually last summer as well, about abolish the police budgets in America, and they were talking about minimising the necessity for police intervention in various scenarios, some of which were quite strikingly criminal, I thought, you know. But anyway, the point was they were train up lots more social workers, essentially, of one kind or another, you know, people who have some kind of expertise in taking the heat out of a situation, that kind of thing, and then bring those people in rather than always have the, you know, plod, whatever the equivalent is, coming in, who aren't always that fine-tuned. I mean, that maybe there's some...
Yeah, definitely.
You know, there's some call for that.
I mean, why have someone who has the ability, they've trained, they know all the rules, they can arrest someone, they're not going to be doing any arresting, because these are non-crime things.
It's not rocket science, and the police should not be investigating non-crime. I mean,
maybe they can have a non-electric taser.
Yeah.
Just a pair of clothes pegs.
But their justification, when the College of Policing justification for this, is that they say they need to keep a record of non-crime hate incidents, because they say that crime is often preceded by non-crime. Yeah. How could it be otherwise?
Yeah,
course, everything's...
Wow.
How could that work in any other way?
It's preceded by non-crime or crime, in which case the crime that it was preceded by was preceded by non-crime.
Because it's lunacy. Yeah. And you know, this is like your doctor phoning up and saying, "Oh, I hear you're really healthy. Why didn't you tell me?" Because often poor health is preceded by... This is like the crime equivalent of Zeno's paradox, you know, that Achilles can never catch the tortoise because he has to cover half the distance, you know. Before you do the crime, you have to commit half of it.